All of which, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to the present day. And I just want to say, my 10 minutes is up, so I'm going to come to my conclusions. Let me just bring it up to date. We have two ethical questions to resolve as far as the present day is concerned, among many, but there are two which I think hover above the Cyprus question most significantly of all. The first is to do with the settlers, or the alleged settlers in some cases, and the second is to do with the concept of what I call the racially defined, racially based, racially divisive, bizonal, bicommunal federation. A brief word on the settlers. And I accept the lobby for Cyprus argument, what is it? The removal of the Turkish settlers. Colonists and settlers, or settlers. But I accept that as a matter of principle, but this needs to be done in a humane and ethical way, and it needs to be done in accordance with the principles of due process and the rule of law. We can't, as many Greek Cypriot politicians are saying, come up with a number. Well, 50,000 can stay and 50,000 can go. That's not how the rule of law works. What you need to do, and I've got it written down here, I've got to say this though, where is it? What needs to be done, now I'll try and summarise. We need to articulate who we mean by a settler or a colonist. We need to define the legal principles under which an alleged settler or colonist is to be brought before a court and subject to judicial proceedings. And once those judicial proceedings have been concluded, the settler or the colonist should be given the opportunity to challenge the legality of the decision. And once all legal avenues have been exploited and exhausted, then the colonist or the settler may be removed lawfully and humanely. We can't just go around in a van rounding people up because the politicians have come up with a figure of 50,000 and my 50,000 mates are going to stay and my enemies are going to go. And that, regrettably, is what I seem to be sensing in the discussions. Of course, I'm not privy to the discussions behind closed doors because they're taking place in secret. But the point I'm bringing to you is we need an ethical approach to this treatment of the settlers and colonists, especially when there are children concerned. We need to hesitate before reaching any decision. But whatever decision is taken has to be taken by a public body in accordance with defined legal principles which are encased with ethics. We don't want politicians reaching arbitrary decisions as to who is to stay and who is to go. On the question of the bizonal, or as I call it, the racially defined, racially based, racially divisive bizonal, bicommunal model, in my view, this is unlawful under European Union law. I've given you all the extracts from various EU treaties which prohibit discrimination, prohibit promote equality. What could be more racially divisive than a racially based bizonal, bicommunal settlement? Where you have a rotating presidency, Greek 1 year, Turkish next year. Well, what about the Armenian? What about the Maronite? What about the African refugee who arrived 6 years ago and now clutches a Republic of Cyprus passport? Are we going to exclude anybody who doesn't fall within the definition of a Greek or a Turk? Yes, we should promote the Greek and Turkish language and Greek and Turkish culture in Cyprus. That's one thing. But ethnicity should not be built into the constitutional model. And if we look at the 1960 Constitution, in the words of the Macpherson report in the Metropolitan Police, the 1960 Constitution was institutionally racist. And in my view, the bizonal, bicommunal model is institutionally racist. And I offer the example in my paper of Nicolas Sarkozy, President of France. Let's say he decided to go to Nicosia, live for a few years, and acquire the Republic of Cyprus passport. His grandfather, his great-grandfather, was born Turkish because Thessaloniki was under Ottoman rule, and he died Greek after Thessaloniki had formed part of the Greek state. And yet, that grandfather was Jewish. So, if Nicolas Sarkozy went to Nicosia, would he be a Greek Cypriot or a Turkish Cypriot? Conclusions, ladies and gentlemen. And at this point, I'm going to refer you to that document that I've distributed. Can I just take you to the the document which has got the number 20 at the top right. I'm going to just read to you two extracts from judicial pronouncements. The first is from Lord Phillips of Worth Travers, who is the senior law lord, or was the senior law lord. He's now the president of the Supreme Court of this country. This is what Lord Phillips told a conference in Qatar last year in the context of a lecture on the rule of law in a global context. Without a universal commitment to the ultimate authority of law, which is founded on principle and administered through independent, stable and respected judicial systems, the world as we know it is not going to survive. May I therefore advance 6 short propositions that will be at the heart of our successful failure in ensuring that tensions are resolved by the rule of law, not by acts of war. First, and this is the most senior judge in our Supreme Court in this country. This isn't just a journalist speaking, or I love journalists, or an academic. This is our senior judge in the Supreme Court. First, there must be national respect for the rule of law. Each state must adhere to the rule of law. Second, the commitment to the rule of law must be worldwide. We can't have the UK adhering to the rule of law, or the Republic of Cyprus adhering, and Turkey not adhering. Well, they didn't say that about Cyprus and Turkey. Those are my words. Thirdly, everyone shares responsibility for maintaining the rule of law. We lawyers, you non-lawyers. Fourth, the rule of law requires constant vigilance. That's why I commend Lobby for Cyprus for what they did at the time of the Annan Plan. They were vigilant, they smelt a rat, and they pounced on it and they destroyed it, or helped destroy the rat. My 5th proposition, he goes on to say the rule of law is never negotiable. Remember that. The rule of law is never negotiable. So you can't go into the negotiating table and try and strip away the rule of law. Because where will you end up? You'll end up in court, because somebody like me, will end up challenging the politicians in court. That's the basis of the rule of law. Everybody is subject to it. And he goes on to say that my 5th proposition is that access to justice must be open to all. Remember the Annan Plan, they wanted to stop people going to court. And the 6th and final proposition is that dialogue, understanding and mutual respect are the keys to a rule of law strong enough to withstand the stresses that lie ahead.